cultural plan, if we can defer that to the November meeting.
Okay. Okay. Any other amendments to the agenda? None. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda? Moved by Ellie, seconded by Janet. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have no adoption of minutes at this stage. I'll ask for disclosure of monetary interest.
Mayor Pipeau, there is an adoption of minutes from the September 14th meeting.
Oh, sorry. I should just read it further down. Recommend a motion on September 14th, 2023, Smith Falls for all committee meetings. Minutes be adopted as circulated. Need a mover? Janet, seconded by Gwen. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Disclosure of monetary interest. Seeing none. We have no delegations today. We have a few priority issues to address. First, Clerk Costello, the update from the September 14th meeting.
I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on a couple items we discussed at our previous meeting on September 14th that I've been working on. The first was the delegation from Dion Nolan that Christine Cutler had brought forward. So we did schedule that. That's going to be at our November 2nd meeting, and I think I've sent out a meeting request to everybody. Currently she's an Indigenous navigator at the center, a cancer center in Kingston. A reminder for everybody that we're going to begin that meeting at 8:45 downstairs, just outside, with where she's going to do smudging outside, and then we'll come inside for the meeting where she'll do a presentation to all of us here. She would also like to do a longer meeting with everybody that includes some of the medicines and some of the traditions. But at that point, those meetings or that type of ceremony can't be live streamed. So she would like to schedule that sometime in the future for us all. So I'll work on scheduling that with Dion. Also following up, last time we talked about ideas for increasing membership. And one of the ideas that came forward was from Councillor McKenna regarding Planet Youth and inviting them to be a delegation. Unfortunately, they weren't able to come to today's meeting, obviously. I'm trying to schedule them for November 2nd as well, and hopefully participate in the presentation from Ms. Nolan at the same time. If not, we'll invite them to the December meeting. So he's also looking at coming to our council meeting as well to update council on Planet Youth. So working on that delegation as well. And those are the two updates. And then the rest of my items, I think I actually put on the priority items. So just looking forward to November 2nd. And if anybody has any issues or can't make that meeting, if you could let me know as soon as possible. I do want to make sure that we have quorum so we don't have to defer that presentation. Thank you.
Any questions for Clerk Costello? Okay, thank you. We're very pleased to have Sienna Colley here today. Sienna's with our Heritage House Museum team leading the way, and she's here to talk about the Rainbow Registry.
Thank you. Yeah, so Rainbow Registry, it's done by the CGLCC, which is Canada's 2S LGBTQI+ Chamber of Commerce. So focus more on the economy side of things. So the museum actually had started an application to be Rainbow registered, and then we got talking more with the town, and then it was kind of decided that this maybe is more of a town-wide initiative. So the purpose basically of this is to create an inclusive economy in Canada. So there's over 100,000 plus businesses already Rainbow registered on the site. And it's basically to create an inclusive space, especially for entrepreneurs that face barriers already. So then if everybody is inclusive and as one, then we can kind of remove some of those barriers. So the process is that you would go onto the website on Rainbow Registry, and you put through an application, and then they contact you, and there's a rep from the program, and you kind of talk about what your business is, what your plans are, and then you do have to complete it's a pretty intensive assessment, but it's great. So the benefits of doing this would be ensuring that all customers feel welcome. It is more of the business side of things. So the museum would definitely be part of that. There's lots of other museums that are Rainbow registered. I'm not sure how it would work if we were going to Rainbow register all Town of Smith Falls buildings, that's something that we would have to look into a little bit more, just because I feel like the community center might go through. I'm not sure if like town hall with the welcome center, I think too, you're still interacting with the public and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not sure if, and on that side of things, but also for the cost, it does cost. So for a small business with 10 employers or less, it would be $250 a year for every 3 years. And then there's a sign-up fee as well. So the museum initially was part of a webinar that was done through the National Trust. And we were able to get that fee waived for us, becoming Rainbow Registered. Sorry, that's okay, come on in. Now as a town, like there is the large 100 plus employees, and it's $525 a year for 3 years, and then a $274 sign up. So again, that's something that I think would be discussed a little more if it's each individual building part of the town is going to go through, or if like town as a whole. But the benefits that you get from this are, of course, the customers feeling welcome. You get your listing in the Rainbow Registry, so you're online, and people can look up and see that. And then you get a welcome kit, a decal, a website badge, access to benefits on the website. And from what I can see, that includes like a lot of their webinars and training. And I have to say the webinar we did with them was amazing. Like it was really, really well done. And so even if it's decided not to go through kind of with this process, like their webinars are offered to those who are not Rainbow Registry. There's just fewer of them. So it would just be beneficial maybe to sit on some of those as well. So the actual assessment itself is, there are 4 categories. So policies and practices, training, commitment to inclusive leadership, and the culture of inclusivity. And you have to choose 3 statements from each category and describe your internal evidence that you meet the standard, and then attach documentation to show that that is the case. And then you also, for each category, have to choose 1 relevant statement and describe external evidence and attach a picture of that. So there's basically 4 categories, and you'll have 4 statements in each category that you need to touch base on. So for example, like the museum had started this process, so we kind of had filled out that application and assessment. So for an external evidence, we had our pride flag that we fly like year round. So that's our external evidence. Quick pick, send it in kind of thing. And then for some of the other internal evidence, especially like policies and practices, like harassment policies, things like that. Training, our webinars that we do, things like that fit into there. Commitment to inclusive leadership. Again, that's part of like professional development, things we do there. So it is a process. So I know like the museum itself, like we talking to the rep would have like no problem getting accredited. And I think most of the town buildings would be as well. I just think it's a matter of which ones like do fit the description, because it is kind of like a business-based accreditation process. So it's just looking at that. But I know the idea was just to bring it to the committee and see what you thought about it, and if it would be a good thing to push forward for the town. So
okay, thank you, Sienna. I'm going to open up for questions or comments. Wynn?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, so it could be available as like an opt-in.
Mm-hmm.
As to personally, as someone who moved to the town and was like, every time I saw a little rainbow flag on a door, I was actually like, okay, cool. So this place might be friendly towards me. The fact that there is internal accredit, like you actually need to prove that you know what you're talking about, or that you can learn internally to improve your training. I feel like that it's a really good opportunity, but yeah, I don't know if there's always that fear that pushing it on people, I don't think is going to get received very well, but certainly making that available and encouraging it. I don't know what the town could do from my own zero experience to encourage people to participate, but certainly I think it's wonderful that the museum was already signing up for that and wanting to do that off your own initiative. My only thought is that no, it's gone.
That's okay. So there's a lot of information. So yeah, absolutely.
Any response, Sienna?
For
Gwen's comments?
yeah, so I agree. I think opting in would be great. And I think, I mean, there's just a little bit more information I think we need on the side of things, because what had happened is the museum actually started it just to go through it. And then we were kind of like just talking with the town of, like, I mean, we're the town of Smiths Falls as well, but talking with other town employees and just talking. And they're like, oh, like maybe hold your application. We'll see if we can go in kind of like together on it. But I do agree, like maybe it's better if it's an opt-in option, or does each department budget for it department-wise and go in? I'm not sure, but
Well, any other questions or comments before I?
Just an observation that we already have an item for a future meeting about diversity training. So it could be a way to unify that. If you get it all through Rainbow Registry, then you're all doing the same training.
Great point. I think we, as a municipality, we need to lead the way. And I think we need to, one, I guess, make the commitment, but to complete the appropriate training, so that the public does know that when they come into any municipal building, any one of our assets, that they will be welcomed and treated respectfully and appropriately. As Gwen mentioned, it's one thing to have the rainbow flag sticker on a door, but it's something else to know even more that the individuals inside are probably certainly more in tune and a broader commitment that we are here for everybody. And I guess the community, Smiths Falls for All, speaks to the community. If we're going to be a community for everyone, then we need to make sure that we can be prepared to support that, and not simply make a statement. We need to be able to have the work inside to confirm that. So my personal feeling is that it should be a town-wide initiative, from a municipal standpoint. And then I think we should, once we can demonstrate leadership there, I think the next step obviously is interact with our Chamber of Commerce, our DBA, which I'm not sure if that's happened yet.
not yet, no.
Okay.
So yeah.
And that opportunity to introduce this entire concept to the broader community. And I'm sure there's numerous businesses which would take the opportunity to get a deeper understanding, go through the training, make the commitment and the pledge essentially, and send that broader message to the community that we're here for you.
Yeah.
And I think municipally, my suggestion is we would make a recommendation that council commit the community, the town, the municipality to the Rainbow Registry and follow through with all of the requirements to meet the standards. And if that's the case, then it would come to council and we would make a decision to proceed, and then it would set the tone for the municipality and then hopefully spread across the community. Any other further comment? And welcome, Mitra. Nice to meet you in person.
Apologies for the delay. I'm happy that I made it today.
No problem. Anything further here?
Yeah, I agree, Sean. And I think it's great. Like the training that we did even outside of the Rainbow Registry, it was put on by the same, the government facilitating this, the Chamber of Commerce. So I did actually look to see if there was any training open like publicly, because we did it through the National Trust. Nothing, they go month by month, so there's nothing for this month, but I can also try to like keep an eye on that. And then if there's like that training available, it's just, it was great to actually get an idea of it before going in for the process. So I can keep an eye on that too, and kind of like let council and the town know when there's maybe a webinar that people can be a part of, just to like as a before kind of thing too. So
what I would suggest, and Sam, if you can share that with Clerk Estelle, she'll get it to all of us.
Yeah.
We can all have a chance to review before our next meeting, and we can prepare a resolution to come to our next meeting for direction to council from the committee. Sound reasonable? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We removed item C for now. We postponed that. Item D has been postponed. Item E, pink bench, the corner of Town Hall. Clerk Casella.
I feel like I'm making a pitch for this. So we have an extra bench that apparently they ordered benches for the town square. Make sure I'm pointing in the right direction, but it was the wrong color. It was supposed to be purple, but apparently we got pink. One of our staff looked at that and saw it as an opportunity and thought it would be a great idea if we installed it right down, I'm going to say where my office is, but if you don't know where my office is, it's right at this corner here. There is a bench there now, but they're looking to take that bench out, have this pink bench installed, and make that an inclusive corner. And the pink bench would be a symbol for anti-bullying. So I haven't discussed this yet with the DBA or Public Works. They know about the initiative, but looking to kind of get a blessing from this group if they think that that's a good idea or a good use for that bench. I went a little bit further with that and thought that there's a possibility. Anti-Bullying Day is February 28th. And I thought maybe there's an opportunity there to unveil a bench or do something on that day, just to showcase that whole corner with the Pride crosswalk with the anti-bullying pink bench. It's symbolic in nature, but just looking to see if this group, if there's a flavor there to bless that. And if so, I'll bring it forward to the management team and see if we can get the ball rolling.
Thoughts?
Would there be something on the bench that would, you know, like a placard or something that said
It's a great idea.
why it's there?
That's a great idea.
Because otherwise it's just
a pink bench.
to some that don't know whatever all the colors represent, or if there's somebody from the town in memory of, or, you know, something along those lines, I think would add to it.
I
But
was
I do
going to
agree
ask
that
the
that's a
same
good
question
spot.
too, but because Carrie mentioned that it's gonna be like, if as a suggestion that like it's unveiled, that would be also an introduction, a formal introduction to the people of the town that why this bench is here. But actually the plaque is also a very good idea.
Just for a tourist or somebody walking.
I personally didn't know about Pink Shirt Day until we practiced it in our office. Like we have a Pink Shirt Day. It's not mandatory, but
Yeah, there's lots that
Yeah.
don't understand.
Okay, anybody else? So obviously, great initiative. I
I'll
think
make the
they're-
pitch to management. And hopefully we can do, maybe if we can have a meeting that day and I'll be available, or go downstairs if we can
Yeah.
have an unveiling, and maybe a sign as well to make sure people know that that's an inclusive corner or
yes,
something there.
makes a lot of sense. And maybe we just plan for our meeting that month to be that morning.
So I'll look at the schedules when I go back downstairs.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
wonderful. Thank you. And you're still up. Update on.
Still up. So after our last meeting, again, this is we talked about trying to increase membership. And that's not just on this committee. We're looking at to increase membership on some of the other town boards and committees. We're currently looking for members on Planning Advisory, Heritage, the Climate Action Working Group. So I went ahead and spoke to our solicitor to see if there's anything we need to be aware of about engaging youth. Obviously, anybody under 18 legally can't vote. Now, the good thing about advisory committees is they don't vote. They make recommendations to council. So there is an opportunity where we could amend our terms of reference to allow youth on to the Smith Falls for All and other advisory boards of the town. Speaking with our solicitors, though, we did come up that we should define youth as like 15, 16, 17, or 16, 17, maybe not go too young. I also met with a couple teachers from SFDCI, civics teachers, when we were discussing Local Government Week, and I mentioned about trying to get more youth engagement. And that's kind of the whole priority, or the whole pull with this year's Local Government Week, is engaging youth. And I mentioned about having a couple of students from SFDCI, or even if they're Smith Falls residents and they go to St. John's or wherever they go to school, and they thought that they would have students who would be quite interested, not just in this committee, but climate action change and municipal heritage. And we're also having a job fair next week at SFDCI, where I'm going to be available to speak to anybody about our committees. So if anybody is interested, I'll be able to tell them about it. But of course, I wanted to bring this to you, one, to see if there's a flavor to engage youth, or to amend our terms of reference to allow for one or two youth on this committee. That would change the membership Currently, we're at a maximum of 8, with the hopes of having 2 more members appointed before the end of October. So we'd increase the membership if we allowed for 2. The maximum membership would be 10, and that would include exclusively 2 youth members. They would be counted as quorum, which was something we weren't sure of. Obviously, they'd have to adhere to the same protocols and policies that you all do, the code of conduct, accountability and transparency, conflict of interest, all of that good stuff. So I'm really just looking to see if this group would be interested in me going back to amend our terms of reference and seeking out a couple of youth members to participate in these meetings. The only caveat to that is because our meetings are at 9 a.m., they can always participate electronically, but we may have to shimmy some meetings to accommodate members. That remains to be seen depending on who puts their name forward. So just bringing that forward for your discussion, for your thought. If you want me to draft up proposed terms of reference so you can see what it would look like, happy to take any direction.
Questions, comments?
So my question is that at the moment, I understand that we have like difficulty getting membership for our committees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, so what are the platforms that like the city has like, or the township has put out in terms of our demand for new members for the committees? Like, has there been any announcements?
We do put out notices quite often. Actually, I think there's another one going out this week to increase our membership. I am quite happy to say that tide seems to be changing. As Mayor Panko knows, we've had committee appointments on our agenda pretty regularly lately. So I'm hoping that that's changing, and we have 2 more people interested in serving on this committee. Council also went at the beginning of this term and looked at other advisory boards and committees and decided that maybe they're not serving the best interest, and we terminated those. So we do go out quite a bit, advertising on our social media platforms and things like that. For something like this, there'd be a different kind of engagement. I think I would go to the principal of the school, and if they have newsletters or announcements and things like that. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because like for myself about this committee, I realized through Instagram, I guess. Yeah, it was Instagram. So I'm thinking like targeting the platforms that people use more often. I know that Smith Falls has a Facebook community page that I think that's a good place for this type of announcements to go. But for youth membership, I think like it's a fresh air to the committees. Why not? I personally don't say that. I said if they are quorum, for sure.
Well, we used to, and we still do. We're presently recruiting student counselors. And as Mayor Panko can allude to, we did have student counselors who did bring a little bit of breath of fresh air to council, because they would offer their, what's going on at SFDCI, or they'd offer their input into different things. So I just, in the spirit of being Smith Falls for all,
For sure.
My own personal thing is I think they would bring a really good
It
perspective.
prepares them for future to take on more serious roles.
And it would, I don't know if I mentioned, the teachers did indicate that it would assist with, I think this was brought up at the last meeting, that they would be given volunteer hours for being a student counselor, for being on committees or participating in these things. So that's another thing that might drive somebody to come to the committee meetings.
Thank you for answering my question.
Further thoughts? Ben? Or Holly?
Sure, thanks. I did just want to mention, I know last time we chatted about, if we brought in youth, we weren't sure about if they could vote in the quorum and that kind of thing. And so we had talked also about having like a youth advisory committee and maybe not meet in this space. I did just want to mention that I spoke with Jennifer Miller at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we were chatting about some other things, and this came up. And she said that we would be welcome to use the WAC space if we wanted to have an external youth advisory committee to meet, maybe not such a daunting space. So I did just want to share that.
We could take Smith Falls for all on the road.
Yeah.
And to make a pitch, we are relocating our council meeting for next Monday. It is local government week, and we are hosting our council meeting at SFDCI in an attempt to try to get some more youth engagement. And there's multiple classes who are going to participate in that meeting and come see the whole process. We're going to have a special committee of the whole so they can see where the ideas kind of come up and how council debates them and what comes forward to our formal meeting of council. So making a pitch for that for Monday, 9 a.m. SFDCI.
My remarks were going to be considering the nature of the committee to get a youth perspective in is important, because I don't think any of us qualify for that category.
Some closer than others.
I know, some closer than
I
others.
wish.
And so I feel like that would be very important, since while the cliche is they are our future, that is true. They will also have a very different perspective, I think, on harassment, bullying, discrimination, because, well, hopefully, as we grow up and become adults, that happens less in our lives, but it definitely still happens in school. So I feel like that's specifically for this committee, a really good idea to try and get that perspective in. I think also for the other way around, to show that the township has this commitment to trying to make Smiths Falls more inclusive and accessible, I think is a message that we would probably want to send back into schools to show that we as a community want to actually foster inclusion and accessibility in the community. And that, I think that's a hopeful message to some people who are probably maybe going through some difficult times. Those are my comments.
So I think I've got my direction. So what I'll do is I will bring forward an amended terms of reference to this group for our next meeting. I'll just try to send it out ahead of time so you can look at it. It's not going to be a massive change, just so that you can have a peek at it. Is there consensus for 2 youth members? Okay.
I think if we stick to grade 11, 12, you'd get the maturity a little more than if you were to get somebody in grade 10 or something.
The teachers also mentioned that's the age group that take the civics classes. So that would probably be about 11, 12, 15 or 16, 17 age group.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And you're still up for item G.
So this is an item updating the taxi bylaw. This was an item that actually Police Chief McGilvery brought up with me a couple months ago. And I asked him to hold tight because I wanted to bring it forward to this committee because this is what we're all about. So we did update our taxi bylaw. So our taxi bylaw right now, our police are the people who administer our taxi bylaw. Our taxi bylaw now licenses brokers and their drivers in town. So currently we did some updates to the bylaw, some administrative changes, and one of those changes might not seem big, but it is we made the bylaw gender neutral, because before the bylaw is quite dated, so any references to police chief was he. In history, we've always had a male police chief, but we changed that so the whole bylaw is gender neutral. To go a step further, the police chief mentioned that he would like to add a clause into our bylaw that drivers can't violate any of the human rights codes, and if they can, that their license through the police would be suspended. So with this group's concurrence, I'd also like to bring this forward to management because I think this is a very important and needed update to our taxi bylaw. Basically, that anybody who violates a human rights complaint, in the opinion of the police chief, would have their license suspended. And I don't mean their driver's license that was administered by the MTO. I mean their license, their taxi license that was administered by the police. So with the concurrence of this group, I'll bring it forward to management. And I'll bring forward an updated bylaw for everybody at our next meeting, so you can have a peek at it and debate it, and if there's any changes you want, and we can bring that forward to council for their approval.
Well, personally, I'd say that's, I think, a great initiative, and I guess when we think we've got someone who's one-on-one in a small space with someone as a customer and a driver, and ensuring that human rights are respected, and I think it's a great opportunity to ensure that practice is followed, and the risk to the driver of not being licensed to operate as a driver if there is any issues that could arise. So
this has opened, I think, my eyes too as well when drafting bylaws, or if another bylaw that we have where we had license somebody, that I think there's multiple bylaws where this needs to be integrated, and will be as we update them in the future.
Other comments? Gwen?
Yeah, because I think it was only in 2017 where C16 came in, which was introducing gender identity and expression into the Canadian Code of Human Rights. That was only 5 years ago. So I can understand why some people might not be aware that it's not okay to harass a client based on the way that they're dressed. I think that's incredibly important to include, because it's a case where, that's a very vulnerable position for someone to be in. There's a lot of little ways that you could charge more, you could just take longer. And for people to understand that that is just as much a part of their job as it is to follow all the other aspects of the taxi bylaw. I think that's excellent.
Any further? Mitra?
Well, last time I was participating in the meeting, I actually had this in my mind to just talk about it. I think along with what you just were talking about, taxis, so it would be good if we kind of make a bridge to the organizations that work with people more, like taxis, like police force, enforcement, banks, basically any other organizations that work with people, with the public, to have them either as guest speaker, just to get them more informed of what we are doing here, and so that also they reflect things that are happening or are being discussed over here or passed to their staff. Reason that I'm suggesting that is because, like, when part of bylaw is edited and corrected and changed, I'm wondering, well, this may not be a good place for it to discuss, but are they going to communicate that with the drivers or not? That's another part of it. Like, I'm driving every day, but I don't know behind the scenes something in my bylaw has changed. So it would be good if you had, like, if they have a director or someone that we could get them, just as an example, as a guest, to be here just to hear what is being discussed, and so that they can reflect it to their members. That would be also very helpful.
I can assure you that our police chief, he administers the bylaw, and any changes to the bylaw are discussed. I think we only have one brokerage or one taxi broker in town, so he does meet with him and discuss any changes to the bylaw, and this would be something that he would probably have a meeting with them about, just to advise them. And as drivers come to get their licenses, I'm sure that the chief also tells them, but we could also make sure they have copies of the bylaw.
Well, to Mitra's point, maybe it's an attestation that every driver should commit to, and within that is embedded the sections of the Human Rights Code that speaks to the right of everyone to live their lives regardless of their gender identity, their sexual orientation, their race, all these factors, so that they are committing when they're becoming licensed.
So an appendix an
Pardon?
appendix to the bylaw.
Yeah.
For an attestation for each driver to sign.
Yes.
Great idea.
And I would say current drivers too, right?
Yeah, most of them, like I used to, before I had a vehicle, I used to use our taxis here a lot. Most of them are like more of a senior age group, so they may not necessarily want to go to a webinar or get an online training. Might be a more of one-on-one type of, or maybe a group training for them, something that they would realize that, like, this change has been added to their bylaws and they're required to consider while working, and of course out of work hours.
And it takes it further. I think maybe it's a matter even of, as municipality, I mean, we do it, but perhaps it's having that section of the code posted and certainly shared with all our staff, which I think it's just that reminder, because I think most people will not be aware of the changes that were made to the code in 2017, I believe it was. And perhaps having that posted any public facing places within the municipality.
That would be great. It's a great idea.
a commitment that we commit to following all the responsibilities of the Human Rights Code.
And I don't know, not to put you on the spot, would that correlate with what you were discussing with the Rainbow Registry as well?
Yeah, so like for having that in a like policy or procedure?
Well, just for not just the town hall, but in like, you know, if other businesses were to take on the Rainbow Registry, having them make some type of declaration or have something in their store, like a public affirmation that they're going to adhere to be inclusive and adhere to the human rights.
Like that would actually probably be part of, like if they had that even before being Rainbow Registry, that would be a part of the assessment process that they have made.
Perfect.
Like
Yeah.
like
So it goes hand in hand.
signed off on something that they, because even like with Rainbow Registry, like it's not, like it's a lot of the focus is on being there for the 2SLGBTQ community, but it comes down to like harassment and just things like that as well, just across the board being an inclusive space. So anything like that would be like all definitely included in Rainbow Registry for sure. Yeah.
Further thoughts or comments? And maybe it's something that can, again, if we take the leadership role as municipality, and maybe we start to design something that the DBA and chamber may want to get involved in, and it's making that statement. And as much as if we believe that racism and homophobia and everything else didn't exist in our community, we probably wouldn't all be here today. But sadly, we know it does still exist. And we even had an incident a week ago this morning when staff discovered racist and white supremacist graffiti at our skate park. And it was dealt with very quickly. It was removed very quickly, and police had a charge laid before the day was out. But it still speaks to the effort, the significant effort we need to make to try and help ensure that people recognize that Smith Falls, despite some people and an undercurrent maybe by some who are opposed, the majority of people certainly stand together for an inclusive community. Okay. Anything further on this? So I think we've sort of digressed a little bit, but I think it's taken us some places where we need to go.
Nope, I've got my direction on all my items. Thank you.
Super, thank you. Okay, the last item I added to the agenda is a priority setting session, sort of strategic planning for this committee. And every one of us probably has a different idea of what inclusivity means. We may come in with different priorities as to directions we think this committee should be going in trying to move our community ahead in the right way. So I think it's important, and understanding there's new members coming on board next month, which is great. And I think if we end up having a couple of youth members, we should plan maybe for what would be maybe a 2-hour strategic planning priority setting session. So we can sort of lay out the roadmap of what we want to accomplish over the next 3 years, roughly. So that might be probably a regular meeting, or maybe we set up a special meeting. So I'll leave it up to Clerk Costello to try to arrange that. But I think we want to be strategic in our approach, rather than, we've got a lot of things we are very interested in doing, but I think we need to just try and have a firm focus going forward. And see if everyone nodding head agrees. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we'll set that up. And that's it for priority items. We have no correspondence items, no in camera. And we have next meeting date of November 2nd, so not too far down the road. And then future meeting, Clerk Costello, you mentioned diversity training update. Nadine will be here to provide an update on that.
Yeah, she wasn't prepared to come to this meeting, so I'm hoping to get, depending on November 2nd, I'd want to give Ms. Nolan as much time as she wants, and especially if Planet Youth is also able to attend. So I'll schedule that for as soon as I can, if it has to be our December meeting. Just trying to gauge to see how long our November meeting is going to be right now.
Okay. Okay. I'll look for a motion for adjournment. Moved by Demetria, second by Ellie. All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Quick.
Yeah, quick.
Well, thank everyone for being here. Participation?
Have you checked out student voice? No, so every school board and every school has a student voice representative that goes to their school board. So, so I believe both the upper there's a lot to be done. And what it is, every high school has a representative that goes to their board to talk on behalf of their high school. I know. When I was in high school, I was on my school. I guess that's the only way I know about it. A lot of people don't know about student voice, but or maybe targeting
but I know
student council, but having it
Yeah, it was funny because I applied for the position.
have that structure in
And
mind.
it was like, oh, congratulations on
Something
your
that I
home.
find
Yeah, the next meeting's is I have in like 2 weeks.
reach out,
We tell my boss.
have that more of a boundary.
They're happy I'm doing it, but I
feel
feel
like
like I'm
they're
gonna need
not
to make up the
only
time.
in the state, but also the cities, usually how it works is that they.
Yes, fortunately I'm working from home today, so it's gonna be very short.
City is always taking a kind of a back seat type of role, whereas if they try to reach out, especially because the Smith Falls is a fresh and smaller community, it would work even better to just reach out to people.
So there's quite, well, my daughter goes to grade 7 up there now. And when I went, I thought there was 2 buses. I think now there's 4 or 5 buses.
I honestly don't know.
And they don't.
I've only been living here
And
for
you
about a
mentioned
year,
a good
so
point
I
that
don't
they
quite know
don't.
yet.
I live just outside.
Because that
I'm
wouldn't work
trying
that
to
way.
think.
But as long as
They,
know
like,
that
we
there's
sent the
this
ad
would
and talked to the principal.
work in the betterment of our community and also for their business because they
Just know that
they bring in more
That
people
could
in.
be just because
So
of the time.
I think that would be a kind of.
That's the thing, when that's why I think it's really important
But,
to
You have this flag.
to get that youth involvement because
For the banks as well. I guess we don't have that
There's
here.
probably more out there than I.
well, that's the thing because like the thing that
LGBTQ
there are gonna
is
be
just
there are gonna
one
be people who
Proportion of what we are
are some
doing here.
kind of queer like
So with
and
Karen,
I use that to proclaim for it.
that's something that now Ottawa is very
Like
focused
every generation. It's just the younger generations who
taxi to
feel
the
like
city.
that the
Is that
atmosphere is more acceptable to actually
I did
come
a
out to
principal
that.
tour.
You're becoming more
So
diverse.
I feel like
Um,
there's definitely a
and
lot.
a lot of the common feedback
People
was just
who are
transportation now.
Gen X.
That is the
I
transportation. I think that would
Gen Z
get more
who feel
willing
like
to come.
and also just how the conversation has changed. Who are aware of
To
it.
be able to.
Only realize that
It's also nervous.
because I grew up in the 90s
Some of
and
them
just
may have
that
their
wasn't on the
How
menu.
how do I treat people?
Oh yeah. And like
Situations arise or
so that
tensions
just
arise.
wasn't on the menu. And you can't pick something
There
that's
is
not that you're
always
not
like
aware of, right? And
I
so
have seen wherever I go.
but
If,
now there's a
even
totally
on the
different
phone when
atmosphere
you
and there
call
are
them, if there is any
there are teenagers who
conversation
are
that is on
realizing
against the staff, it's not going to
that
be
who
responded.
are
Something like that.
realizing
I
who
can't
they are, like
remember
not
the
That's
Joe.
something I've noticed about
That
the
can be as an announcement published and
Wish
put
we
on
could get
their wall so that
There
people
was
see
a few years
you.
back, but I
Because
can't.
that flag, I'm
But
sure
then
that is not going to be
rubs up
welcome
against
from
something
any.
like you're, oh, they're too
So
young to
they're going to get
they're just being
some
silly, they're being
not happy
they're being
reactions as
influenced
well.
by
But what are the
Yeah, and I know in Perth there's the yak space, right? The,
Yep.
that's the
and
thing
Rachel's
that
it's
amazing
not
at
a
endurance.
one
understand.
where they kind of
Yeah, and that's something we want, and I think that's not a bad idea. Is
That's why just penetrates.
You can have some.
No, and even if you wanted to do that, good luck. It's still going to take you.
What the hell?
Take
Why
you
not?
years to-
Yeah, it really is, from what I'm hearing, talking to Tra, it's
friend
really
of
that
mine
community
recently
building
just
aspect,
realized
right?
that,
Like
you
bringing
know,
people together to have those conversations,
Oh,
like in a
realizing
safe
that
space.
they're actually a bit worse than they thought.
Yeah, it's almost like having
I
a
like